Então, nós estamos gravando.
Uhum. Então, de novo, né? Estava aqui expressando minha felicidade, meu contentamento em estar aqui na nossa casa espírita. Há muitos anos que eu venho aqui e realmente é um local que é sempre de muito assim amor para mim, né? Um local que me acolhe, acolheu minhas filhas. E hoje eu trago essa palestra, resultado de um estudo, né, de um trabalho, com amor também, vendo pessoas aqui que são queridas já de muito tempo, novas pessoas, e feliz em estar aqui hoje, né? Obrigada por todos que estão aqui, por terem vindo, e as pessoas que estão em casa também, né? Elizabeth e outras pessoas que eu estou conhecendo hoje. Então, estamos aqui juntos. É muito bom estar juntos assim, para pensar um pouco sobre a palavra, sobre Deus, sobre Jesus, sobre Espiritismo e sobre arte. Tanto o Espiritismo quanto a arte tem um papel fundamental na minha vida. Foram dois instrumentos que me fizeram crescer, que me deram e me dão suporte assim, imensurável e que tornam a vida mais leve, mais possível, mais feliz para mim e para as pessoas que estão ao meu redor. Então, assim, é de coração mesmo que eu falo disso hoje, né? Então, aqui eu quero comecei com essa obra, O Rosto de Jesus, e assim, o coração, com esse convite, né? Jesus sempre com esse convite ao amor. Então, seguindo aqui, começando a falar propriamente da arte. Já é de praxe.
Tem alguém fazendo barulhinho, eu tô tentando.
Deixa eu ver se eu tô.
Não é daí, não.
Acerta.
Pois é, acerta.
Isso, clica em cima, e daí você pode mudar. Pronto, agora pode usar a seta. Acertando bem ainda?
Não tá.
Então tá.
Não, já. Sempre acontece isso quando eu venho aqui. Quem já vem ver as minhas palestras já sabe. Então, eu acho que é um momento para que eu possa realmente ficar tranquila e continuar. Inglês. Agora, inglês. Fazer a palestra em inglês. Okay, so let's go. So today I am happy and grateful because I'm going to talk about Spiritism and art. And these are two great things in my life. You know, Spiritism and art have been a way for me to find strength, to find a light, and to live life in a way that is fulfilling. So I think it's something that I'm gonna try to speak from the heart because it's true for me. So I'm gonna start here with the definition of art according to Spiritism, right? Because art is such a broad subject. But because here we're talking about Spiritism and art, let me go ahead and talk about the definition of art according to Spiritism. So in order to find that definition, I was studying a book that is entitled O Consolador by the Spirit Emmanuel through the mediumship of Francisco Cândido Xavier, or Chico Xavier, right? And that is what I found in that book. So they say, Emmanuel teaches us that pure art is the highest spiritual contemplation on the part of creatures. So when we study the ideas of such intelligences, such as this one here, Emmanuel, we have to stop carefully at each phrase. So I'm going to stop here in the first phrase when he says that is the highest spiritual contemplation. So what is the meaning of the word contemplation? When we contemplate something, what is contemplation? Is the action of looking very carefully and thoughtfully at something for a long time. So art is the highest spiritual contemplation on the part of creatures. So when some of us decided to contemplate the spiritual realities and bring something from there, he may bring it in form of art. So it's contemplating the spiritual reality that the artist, we're talking about pure art, that the artist delivers to us what we see as art. It signifies the most profound expression of what is ideal, a divine manifestation about this further beyond, além, né? That polarizes the hope of the soul. So it's a divine manifestation of this further beyond. It was hard for me to find a translation for that, mais além, further beyond. So it's a divine manifestation of what's there, or of what's in the spiritual realm. So that is pure art, and it's something that ignites our hopes, because when we can catch glimpses of what's true in the spiritual realm, we the hope in us opens up, right? The real artist is always the medium of eternal beauty, and his work at all times touches the strings of human feeling. I thought it was so cool the way he says it touches the strings of human feeling, because if you think about a guitar, the strings of a guitar. So that in itself is poetry. So the way this is written is art in itself. So it's saying that the artist and pure art and this work has the power of touching the strings of our soul, of our feelings, elevating our feelings from the earth, from here, to the infinity, and opening in all the ways the longing of the hearts to God. This is poetry. This in itself is poetry. So when we are in presence of pure art, the longing of our hearts to grasp what God is opens up. So we feel like going towards something that is bigger and better. We feel like going towards love, and we feel like reaching that. That's all spirituality. That's all God, right? So this is the first idea that I found in the book, and it's profound. So it's we see that the way they understand that the most evolved spirits understand art, there is a very close connection between art and God. It's an expression of God in a way, right? Okay. The artists, like the so-called wise men of the world, can also embark on the crystallizations of terrestrial conventionalism when the flame of divine ideals does not boost in their hearts. Let's think about this one, because there is always, I don't know if you all heard about something, people may talk about, oh, this is art, this is business, that song, that is art. No, this is something that it's made, you know, for people to make money. Or so look, so when this person that is devoted to create art, it's not really following the conventions of our earth. When that person is not really following that, but it's linked to the divine ideals, when their heart is pulsing with the divine ideals, this one person is going to break the conventions that we have here on earth, because this person, this artist, is bringing something new, is bringing something that is a fragment of a reality that we don't really know much about. It's this reality that it's further beyond, right? So yeah, in most cases, yeah, but in most cases, they have been great. In most cases, the artists have been great missionaries of ideas under the aegis of the Lord in all departments of their activities, such as literature, music, painting, and visual arts. So, and he keeps on saying, but in most cases, the artist, whether he or she knows it or not, is really delivering expressions of what God is. Because we still do not comprehend what God is. We're trying to reach that comprehension. But when we're faced with a pure work of art, it can be a song, it can be a movie, it can be something that you're reading, it can be a poem. We may feel something stirring in us. We may feel something opening up. So perhaps, yeah, we're getting in touch with a fragment of this spiritual realm that is being brought to us by the artist. The excellence of an artist, oh, this is interesting. The excellence of an artist is the result of secular experiences in our planet as well as in the spiritual realm. The genius in all artistic expression is the result of a profound synthesis of numerous lives, in which perseverance and hard work combined resulted in the most brilliant bloom of spontaneity. So, yeah, so in Spiritism, we understand that we have been around for a long time. There are many lives, many stories. And then, the real artist, when he delivers to us a magnificent work, is not a result of this one life only. It's a result of all the memories, all the images, the all the whatever that is registered in him. So it's all that, all those lives, all those experiences, and a lot of hard work and perseverance. So when they deliver a work of art, is the result of all that. Okay, so this is a beautiful painting. This was painting by Van Gogh, the Dutch painter, and he is one of my favorite painters. I spoke about him here in our spiritual center before, and I brought this painting because he was a genius. So the genius mind comes about as a consequence of the longest and laborious efforts and multiple existences of abnegation and work in the pursuit of the spiritual truths. Understanding life through its real prism, oftentimes it does not fit in the narrow context of the terrestrial life. So what is being said here is that the artist understand life through its real perspective. And because of that, a lot of times the artist will not fit in the narrow context of our lives. They may not fit in. They may feel strange in their environment because of the conventions that we have and because of the prejudices that we have. So think about this genius mind that carries all this knowledge and all these memories, and it has that kind of sensibility. And then it has to live with all the conventions and prejudice and the narrow mind way of life that a lot of times we still have. So sometimes they will not fit in. For example, Van Gogh, this painting called Irises, it's amongst the most expensive paintings that we have. And Van Gogh, throughout his life, he had a life of poverty. He was not alive. He he died. He didn't see what happened to his work. And all throughout his life, he suffered with acute mental turmoil. And he ended up committing suicide. So he was this genius. So it was hard for him to fit in. So at one point, he admitted himself to a mental health institution. And he went and he brought himself to this mental health hospital. And in this hospital, he would see these flowers and then he would paint. And then if you see the painting in you know, if you see the whole painting, you're going to observe that one flower amongst all of these is white, just that one flower. And some people think that perhaps that one flower, he would see himself in that one flower, in the isolation that he went through. Because at time he was not comprehended, you know, he was not, people didn't understand. So sometimes, you know, they may feel that they do not fit in. But look at this, and he killed himself, and today he's well known all throughout the world, right? Um, this is so interesting. Look at that one. A lot of times the artist, you know, the artist in general almost always lives more in the spiritual sphere than in the terrestrial plane per se. It's so funny, you know. There are a lot of artists in my family, and I do love art too. When I studied psychology, I found a way to combine with theater, so I could do art as I was doing psychology. And you know, if we see people who are involved with art, you may get that sometimes they it seems like they're not here. It seems like they're somewhere else. It's like it's different, but it is. And when I read that, I thought it was interesting. It seems like most times they're somewhere else. They live more over there than here. So their psyche is a result of their intimate world. This is so interesting, filled with infinite memories of past existences or the sublime visions learned in the spiritual realm before their incarnation in this world. So Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, when he was creating his theory, when he was creating psychoanalysis, he came to the conclusion that we all suffer with some kind of neurosis. There is no escape. In one level or another, we carry some symptoms as a result of something in our psyche or in our, emotional life that is not resolved. So we are all neurotics in a way or another. But in regards to the artist, he said, in regards to the artist, there is a difference. And I thought it was so interesting because I saw a parallel between the ideas of Freud and this idea here that Emmanuel was bringing to us. So because he said it's different with the artist, because the artist, he or she may be taken by the unconscious, but they don't stay there. They are taken by the unconscious, and in there they will collect resources, the intimate world. They will collect resources, images, inspiration, whatever that is. They will transform that in a work of art, and they will present that. As they do that, what happens? They're included. As they do that, they are acknowledged. So the artist is a little bit different than most of us, like the people who deal with the neurosis. They can flow between the unconscious and reality in a way that it's interesting, in a way that they can show something. It's like, okay, I was there in the unconscious. I got this treasure, I got this rock, I got this melody, I got this painting, and I'm giving this to you. Look. So he goes there and then he goes back to reality and he brings a gift to us. And sometimes they make money with it. So it's like, hey, so they're doing a lot better than people who were suffering with the neurosis. Freud spoke a lot about this. And there is a parallel with this idea. I thought was very interesting. Yeah. Um, okay. It is true that in view of his special psychic configuration, the artist does not give in to the demands of human conventions. They rise above contemporary prejudices. You know, I'm thinking it's very important to read in a book that was brought to us by Chico Xavier through the spirit of Emmanuel, and he repeats that he's talking about prejudices, he's talking about human conventions, he's talking about stereotypes, he's talking about how we most of times we go through life in a very narrow path, and bringing that the idea that, hey, the artist is no longer there, he's no longer walking in that narrow path. So I think this is really an invitation for us to broaden our path, and and to learn from the artist, the real artist, and to not give in to conventions and to crystallizations. That's the word this Emmanuel uses, the Spirit uses, crystallizations, because we're evolving, we're changing. So we need to learn with the real artist. It is, it is important to observe that despite their superior qualities, they can surrender. This is important too. This is very important. Sorry. It is important to observe that despite their superior qualities of the artist, they can surrender to the toxic excesses harmful to their freedom when not properly conducted or falsely used. This is why, oh, see, this is where Spiritism enters in a very strong way. This is why the divine ideal of faith will always be the antidote to moral poisons. The Spiritism, or whatever spiritual path that the artist may find. For me, if I choose an artistic path, would be the Spiritism. But if other people find other spiritual paths that lead them to God, so be it. Because look, this is why the divine ideal of faith will always be the antidote to moral poisons, liberating the path of the soul to the highest achievements of perfection. We see so many history of artists. I could not stop thinking about Elis Regina. Elis Regina is our most, one of the biggest singers that we have in Brazil, I think. And you see the way she used to sing, that was pure, but that was misconducted in a way. She was lost. And not only her, we see so many artists that they are so grandiose. Their souls are so immense, but they need some guidance. They need a path, and that's when God comes in. And whatever way they find God. I love Spiritism. This is how I find God. But if other people find it in any other way, so be it, right? So in any of its pure form, in any of its pure forms, art constitutes the object of love. This is so beautiful. Art constitutes the object of loving attention from the invisible realm, with such possibilities that the artist on earth is very far from imagining. Think about Julia. I'm thinking of, because listen, the artist is a missionary. The one who chooses to follow the path of pure art is one that is coming about with change to the world, to people, to their group. So they receive loving attention from the invisible realm with such possibilities that the artist doesn't even imagine, right? Art evolves with humankind, representing the spiritual contemplation, again, the spiritual contemplation of those who express it. It will always be the manifestation of eternal beauty, conditioned by the time and context of its exhibitors. However, it will always be one in its treasure of purpose within the infinite spirituality. So he's saying that it is, yes, it is true that art may be conditioned. I'm sorry about my English today, it's a little, it may be conditioned by the time and the context where the artist is inserted. But it will always be one, because in reality, is this a manifestation of the spiritual reality, right? That we are trying to grasp. Okay, so all these ideas I found in this book, O Consolador, de Chico Xavier, by the Spirit Emmanuel. And now, there, Leon Denis, um, he's considered the apostle of Spiritism, you know, and I love his books too. And there is one book specifically called Arte no Spiritismo, Art in Spiritism, in which he talks about art. Again, he comes with the same kind of ideas. The main purpose of art is the search and realization of beauty. It is at the same time the search for God, since God is the primary source and perfect realization of physical and moral beauty. The understanding, pay attention to that phrase, the understanding of beauty gets more precise and accurate as intelligence evolves. Well, here his first phrase is the search and realization of beauty. But then let's think about beauty for a moment. And let's remember what is the idea that Emmanuel is bringing to us. Well, think about earthly conventions. Think about prejudice. Think about capitalism. Think about our life the way it is. And think about beauty. So, is beauty something that is sold to us? Is beauty something that it's imposed upon us? So I had a chance to work for 5 years. I'm a psychotherapist, and I had a chance to work for 5 years in a center for treatment of eating disorders. And there I had a chance to work with women, all ages, from 13 to 53 to 60 women, a lot of women, all ages. And there, for 5 years, I saw extreme anguish, suicidal ideation, suffering, self-harm behavior, because all of these women, they wanted to fit in an ideal of beauty that was imposed upon them. So I saw that day after day. And then we think about what Leon Denis is saying. The understanding of beauty gets more precise and accurate as intelligence evolves. And the more we're able to see things in life and beauty coming from a perspective that it's ours, coming from within, and it's nothing that it's imposed on us, like what the artist does. He does not give in to human convention, to prejudice, to racism, to this or that. No, he comes to break those things. The more we try to acquire that kind of ability and we try to improve our intelligence, the better we comprehend and understand beauty. Because beauty is such a relative concept, right? So I think you all know who Helen Keller is. She's a great American writer, and she's an artist too, because she used to write poetry as well. She was especially gifted, and she was a unique artist because she was blind. And this is one of her quotes. She says, the best and most beautiful things cannot be seen or even touched. Look at what she says. The best and most beautiful things cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. She's talking about that. She's talking about that kind of beauty, that it's a beauty that transports us to something higher, to that further beyond, to some fragment of a spiritual reality that we don't quite understand very well, but we know it's there and it's good. So, and then this person, and then Cecilia made it. Because as I was doing this, I was thinking about who are my favorite artists. I'm talking about this. So let me go to them too. Cecilia Meirelles is my favorite poet. She's a Brazilian poet. And in one of her poems, she says, this is what she says. She says, renew yourself. Multiply your eyes so you can see more. Create new eyes so we can see new visions. So I think Leon Denis is talking about that too. And look at that. Look at that. This is the idea here. When we look at these images, there is one message that comes about. This is Mary, the mother of Jesus, right? When we think about Mary, no, at least for me, I don't know, I cannot generalize, but when I think about Mary, I immediately think about love. I feel surrounded. I think about unconditional love. I think about sublime, something sublime. I think about nourishment. I think about forgiveness. I think about giving. I think about hope. And when we look at these images, no matter what color they bring, or the form they bring, or the size they bring, or the style they bring, or the culture they bring, they all convey the same message. They all convey the same message. And I think this is progress. We need to because progress is a divine law. We need to flow with that law. Were there times in which we conceived beauty in a very narrow-minded way? Those times are going and they must be gone, because these are times to understand beauty in a way that is broad, that is inclusive, that is loving, that is accepting. This is what Leon Denis is talking about. He's talking about the more we evolve, the better we understand beauty. This is beautiful. Look at that. So yeah, I wanted to bring the images with this message. So, and then when we go to the Spirit's book, and this is so interesting. It's so good to read the books that the Spirits give to us as gifts, because each one of these books, it seems like they have a certain type of feeling or like affection. I don't know, when I was reading Emmanuel, it seemed like he was talking about art in such a loving way. Then when I read Leon Denis, it was more like a teacher speaking notes. And then here in the Spirit's book, it was like, come on, stop it. We need to flow with progress. Look at that. Do spirits survey and take interest in our works of art? That's what they answer. Simple, direct. They scrutinize whatever indicates the elevation of incarnate spirits and their progress. Yes, they look, but they look only to those things that are made and are made for our growth, for our progress. That's it. So all those ideas combined, Emmanuel, Leon Denis, the Spirit's book, they are showing us, they're teaching us. Oh, so yeah, this is art. That's the purpose of art. That's it. And also, it's at least for me, is a calling. It's like let's keep growing, let's keep progressing. So, what's beauty? What is beauty? How do I see beauty? And yes, that, right? Okay. And then another book that always also brought some teachings about art. It's by Raul Teixeira, and the spirit is Camilo. And the name of the book is A Missão da Arte, Art's Mission. This is so beautiful. Look, from the rustic, I'm only going to read, I cannot speak anything about this. I'm just going to repeat as it is because it's beautiful. From the rustic drums of the jungle to the passionate violins of fruitile concerts, we have the presence of God. From Rupestриan art, faded, reminiscent of Neolithic times, to Rembrandt's perfect canvases, we have God's presence. From the totem of the pristine days of the tribe to the sculptures of Michelangelo in Europe, we have the presence of God. From the evocations of the rhythmic voices of the Polynesians to the most formidable symphonies in the world, we have the presence of God. Leading their children, we are God's children. It's so good to think like that we are God's children. Leading their children to the aesthetic maturity, to the highest flights of sensitivity, so that they understand Him, so that they understand God gradually in the evolutionary process. Here again, talking about the law of progress. So art is here as a tool for us to keep growing, as a tool that art is an agent of progress. Let me say like that. Okay. Okay. So he's talking about God. And then I thought about, and I was thinking about the artists that I like. And I couldn't stop thinking about Gilberto Gil. He is a great Brazilian singer. And in one of his songs entitled Se Eu Quiser Falar com Deus, since we're talking about God and God as a manifestation of art. And so, yeah, how we connect with God. And then I thought about Gilberto Gil in his song, Se Eu Quiser Falar com Deus. If I want to speak with God, I have to be alone. We're here together, and it's wonderful to talk about God together, especially here. I love this place. And anyways, it's great to be together. We need that. And it's even better to talk about God when we're together. But we need to find our way of communicating with God when we're alone. We need to learn to be with ourselves in order not only to talk to God, but to hear God. To hear God. So he says, if I want to speak with God, I have to be alone. I need to turn off the lights and silence my voice. Silence my voice. I need to find peace. Need to loosen the knots of my shoes, my tie, the knots of my desires and my fears. Sometimes when we talk to God, we talk about our desires as if we know what's best. No, we don't. We don't. So loosen up or cut the knots of my desires and my fears. Forget the date. Forget the date. Tem criança aqui. Forget the date. As crianças são sempre comigo, não tem jeito. Forget the date. I need to lose count. Empty my hands out and undress my soul. And I was talking about, I was thinking about the definition of soul for people who go to the study of the Spirit's book. A Beth está ali, a gente ficou um tempão. Alexandre também. So it's the spirit when it's in the body. So when Gilberto Gil says that, if I want to talk with God, I need to undress my soul. It's like go back, it's like going back to being a spirit. It's not even about being a soul within a body. It's, being a spirit. I need to accept pain. I need to accept pain. And even then, cheer up my heart. So, and this is about connecting with God too. Accepting pain, and even then, cheering up my heart. Yes. I'm going through pain. Yes, I am. But I am opening my heart. If I want to speak with God, I need to risk myself and rise to the heavens without strings to sustain me. Without strings to sustain me. How do I understand that? Faith. Faith. When we have faith that it's whole and robust, in the gospel, when we go to that chapter that talks specifically about faith, we read, real faith is unwavering and robust. So what is a robust and unwavering faith? It's just that. And rise to the heavens without strings to sustain me. No, letting go, surrendering, faith in God. So I thought about that. Yes, so we need to quiet down. We need to slow down. But it's almost impossible. And look at that. It's almost impossible. You know why? Because we still live. Charlie Chaplin is another artist that I love and respect greatly. In 1940, when he wrote, directed, and played the main role in this movie, The Great Dictator, he was talking about what we live today. So maybe this is one of the reasons why we cannot quiet down. Look at what he said. We have developed speed. Yes, we're like this. We don't stop. But we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance, it has left us in want. So we gave up to speed. We developed the highest speed technology and whatever, but we're shutting ourselves out. And it is leaving us with this want. Everything is too rapid. It's too fast, right? So how are we going to quiet down, to speak with God, and even more to hear God? And there is one great speaker, and he's going to come here next month, Arthur Valadares. Please come to hear him talk. I'm counting the days because he talks about this in a beautiful way. He says that we live em ruído que é ensurdecedor. O mundo apresenta ruído ensurdecedor. We live in a world with a kind of noise that makes us deaf. And it's so much information that makes us blind. So in 1940, Charlie Chaplin was talking about that. So our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. So when he says, we think too much and we feel too little. So what is the instrument that makes us feel? What is something that makes us feel? Art. Art makes us feel. Yes. So let me see here. Art makes us feel, and we live in a time that it's not healthy. We're not healthy. We're in this time of transition. There are many things to be done and adjusted, and we need to quiet down. We need to feel. We need to get rid of the numbness. We need to stop sleeping. We need to close the computer. We need to feel. But listen, we can heal. We can heal. We can heal. Art is also a healing tool. Art is a healing tool. When we create something, it can be a little drawing. It can be a little note for a teacher. My daughter writes a little note to her teacher, and she shows it to me, and she makes a little drawing, and she changes with happiness. And when she gives that to her teacher, I'm sure she'll change too. That's a little art. I don't know if they're doing it. Okay. So, yeah, art, I don't know. Art is a healing tool. So, um, this is a picture that is in a very special place. This is a work of art that is stored in a very special place in Brazil, in Rio, that is called the Museum of the Images of the Unconscious. And that museum was created by a psychiatrist, Dr. Nise da Silveira. She was a psychiatrist who never accepted the aggressive methods that the psychiatry would use to treat their patients, such as electroshock and lobotomy, I think, yeah. So she was a student of Jung, one of the great names in psychology. So she created her methodology of work. And what was one of her methods of work was to incorporate art in her therapy. And then in this museum, there are 350,000 pieces like that. 350,000 paintings stored in this museum. That's how she dealt with her patients, with dignity, with respect, with love. And this is what she says about art. Look, everybody has to create something. Everybody has to create something. Creativity gathers in itself many psychological functions important to reestablish the psyche. What heals, see, what heals essentially is the stimulus to creativity. So in the past slide, when I brought Chaplin, I was talking about how we're still, how we are still leading our lives in ways that are not the best or the healthiest, and how our society it is still engaged in so much speed and information, and it's so much that we can stop to talk to God or hear God or learn about ourselves. But we can heal, think in simple ways. We can create something. We can invent. I don't know if there is such a word in English. Inventar. We can create something because art brings about that. It gives us that possibility, the possibility of healing. You know, and it's good to give that to our children too, to our youth, because what they do is little art and it heals them. When I do not work with children, but when I had a chance to work with children, we would play with them and ask them to draw. And then we would look at their drawings. Their drawings, so beautiful, were just an expression of what was going on inside. So, yeah, we need to make art. We need to teach our youth to make art. So we can feel. We need to feel, right? So, yes, we need to feel. With art, think about art. Okay, let's put it like that. Let's say you're having a bad day. It's kind of crazy, and the speed is killing you, like Chaplin was saying. And you're driving, you're running, you didn't have time to eat, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you didn't sleep well last night, and you need to pay. And then you turn on the radio, and you just happen to hear that song. Each one of you know what song that is. In that moment, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, something shifts. You hear that song and it touches your heart, and you're open to something else. And then you may remember something or someone. You may cry. And if you cry, it's good because it's good to feel. And after you cry, you may feel better and go about your day with less emergency, less speed. This is what art does to us. When a child gives a drawing that they made, it just changes you in a way. When you read something or when you watch that movie, you remember the pandemia, you watch that one movie, it changes even a whole pandemia. This is what art does. It touches us. It opens our hearts. It talks to our hearts. And then this poet, Cora Coralina, she is wonderful. And she published her first book when she was 75 years old. When her husband died, she was left with 4 kids. And then she used to live in this little town. My grandfather was born here, this little town in Goiás. I'm from Goiás. The little town called Old Goiás used to be the capital of Goiás. Cora Coralina was born there. You see this image. Her house was this one house on the left, and today is a museum. So when she was left, no, her husband died. She had 4 kids. She started to make sweets, doces, using the fruits that we have in that region. Figs and oranges, and there was one that was my papaya, making sweets with lots of sugar and selling them. And she built a life for her and her kids. When she was 75, she published a book, and today she is well known and respected in Brazil and internationally as well. She's a poet, and this is what she says: nothing that we live or experience or endure has meaning if we don't touch people's hearts. She's an artist, and she comes with simplicity. I spoke a month ago about the little things. Who are the little ones? And about simplicity, about Mother Teresa, and the simplicity of things. And look at her and the message that she's bringing. This is the whole poem. It's so beautiful. I don't know if life is short or too long for us, but I know that nothing we endure makes sense if we don't touch people's hearts. Most times, look at how simple she was and how wise. Most times, it's enough to be the receptive shoulder, enveloping arm, comforting word, respectful silence, infectious joy, flowing tears, caressing look, gratifying wish, encouraging love. And this is not something from another world. Cora Coralina. She was born there where my grandfather was born. And this is her message. So she's talking about love. And here I am again talking about love. And when we talk about love, we enter a very dear and special domain. It's a revolutionary domain. It's a powerful domain. When we talk about love, we're talking about Jesus. When we talk about love, we're spreading Jesus' legacy. So it's a special domain. This is what we do when we talk about love, right? So, but still, it may be that we still are not really able to unfold our love. It may be that we're still having difficulty to deal with love. It may be that we don't know how to love. We want, but we don't know. And then, you know, look at that. More art here. I think it was 1968, I was not even born yet. The Beatles were talking just about that. How perhaps we don't know yet how to love. That's what they sing to us. I look at you all, at us all. I'm here to see the love there that's sleeping while my guitar gently weeps. The title of the song is While My Guitar Gently Weeps. It was written by George Harrison. I don't know why nobody told you how to unfold your love. Perhaps that's it. Perhaps nobody told us how to unfold our love. Perhaps not. But if we're still dealing with that, if we still have difficulty to deal with love, let's accept the invitation. Let's accept the invitation. We're all invited. We're all included. It's a sublime invitation from our beloved brother, Jesus Christ, to all of us. He's inviting us to be loved. Jesus Christ is inviting us to be loved and then to love. Then we'll see things change because we are going to change and we're going to become agents of change to co-create a better world. I look at the world and I notice it's changing. Yes, that's it.